Hello, my friends. This is Joseph Patrick Murphy with a short presentation about mail-in voting. If you like this video, odds are your friends would like it too. Please share this video with your friends. The name of this presentation is Bikinis and Ballots, and it's about how Republicans must embrace mail-in voting and encourage other Republicans to sign up for and use mail-in ballots. Whether you like it or not, mail-in voting is here and it's here to stay. And it's here to stay because it works. Republican refusal to participate in mail-in voting drastically favors Democrats. I've heard it a million times. People should vote like we always did, in person, at the polls, on Election Day. Well, perhaps they should vote in person on Election Day, but at least for right now, they don't have to, and that's the law. Act 77 says they don't have to, and this is getting a whole lot more Democrat votes into the system. This all became an issue during Corona, where governments, mostly Democrat governments, sent out lots and lots of mail-in ballots under the pretense of Corona. Republicans, who normally hate change, overwhelmingly rejected the idea of mass mail-in voting. Republicans pointed out the opportunities for fraud, the lack of checks on who was alive and who was dead, and had a million other gripes. None of these gripes brought in one single more Republican vote. Republicans turned their noses up at mail-in voting. Democrats did not. In my last election, there were something like 96,000 mail-in votes. 14,000 of them were Republican and the rest were Democrat votes. That's an almost 6-to-1 advantage that the Democrats have in the mail-in voting pool. Every Republican says that mail-in voting is ripe for fraud. So what? I'm not going to say that fraud doesn't happen, but even without any fraud at all, we're still going to get our butts kicked by mail-in voting over and over again, unless we get in the game. This presentation is called Bikinis and Ballots, and that's a little bit of the ballots part. And now I want to talk a little bit about the subject of bikinis. We all know what a bikini is. It's a swimsuit, a type of swimsuit, a two-piece swimsuit. Bikinis are famous because they show off a lot of skin. You may not know it, but when bikinis were first introduced, they were thought of as scandalous, even salacious. Moral authorities of the time scolded women about the immorality of wearing a bikini. Legend even has it that the designer of the bikini could not find one professional model to model the thing and ended up hiring an 18-year-old nude dancer from, I think, Paris to be the first bikini model. And somehow, in spite of all this social pressure, the bikini survived. The bikini is here and it's here to stay. And it's here to stay because the bikini works. The bikini works and so does mail-in voting, but only for the people or party that uses them. Any adult knows how and why a bikini works, and I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I am going to go over how and why mail-in voting works, primarily for the Democrats. The real reason mail-in voting works isn't because it creates opportunities for fraud. The real reason it works is because it makes voting easier to do and harder to forget to do. Voting by mail is easier. You don't have to find out where your polling place is, and you don't have to go there. You don't have to deal with poorly trained and, let's face it, usually unpleasant election workers. You can do it from the comfort of your home. With mail-in voting, all you have to do is fill out a form and drop it in the mail. In every election, particularly the elections in big and Democrat-controlled cities, the only Republicans who are voting are those who are willing to go out to the polls and vote. The Democrats get both people who are willing to go to the polls and people who want to vote but aren't willing to deal with the hassle. And when you take the hassle out, a lot more people are willing to vote. And voting by mail is harder to forget to do. When there's a ballot delivered right to your house, it's harder to forget to vote. It's sitting right there with the bills and the magazines. Power. You can vote anytime you feel like it, up and until the deadline. You don't have to be free on Election Day. You don't even have to know when Election Day is. You just have to fill the thing out and drop it in the mail. Imagine this. During my last campaign, we ran endless phone banks. We would get a bunch of people together and call perhaps thousands of Republican voters using an application called Campaign Sidekick. We'd call them up. We'd ask them to remember when Election Day is, to vote on Election Day, to vote Republican, and who the candidates we'd like them to vote for were. The voter would have to remember all that stuff all at once on Election Day. I'm sure the Democrats did something similar. It's a standard campaign tactic called phone banking. You call up voters. But when the Democrats called their voters, the ballots were already in those houses. All they had to ask their voters to do was fill out a form that was already in the House and mail it back to the Elections Division. Voting by mail gets new voters into the system, people that would not have otherwise voted. They don't need to cheat. They've added more voters. Anyone who's registered and maybe would have forgotten Election Day or gone to the neighborhood bar or just sat around and watched TV is now voting because it's easier, it's convenient, It's free and it's fun for them. We have to get in the game here. We as Republicans have to give up the fake moral high ground. It's not getting us anywhere, and it won't. We've got to stop complaining and start competing. Voting by mail is a lot like the bikini. It works, but only for the people who use it. This is Joseph Patrick Murphy. I'm encouraging all Republicans to sign up for mail-in voting and to encourage other Republicans to sign up for mail-in voting. We've got to give up our prudish objections and get in the vote by mail fight. This is Joseph Patrick Murphy. Thank you for watching.
It was an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. An itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini, so in the locker she wanted to say
2, 3, 4. Stick around, we'll tell you more.